Imagine this. Your view is suddenly gone, blocked by a new house next door, and you feel like you've lost all your privacy. Well, for homeowners Clifford and Maria Burnes, this was their reality. And it wasn't just some little neighborhood disagreement. It spiraled into a full-on legal battle with their homeowners association. So how does something like a construction dispute actually end up in court? Let's get into it. I mean, this quote right here from the homeowner's own complaint letter, it really gets to the heart of the matter, doesn't it? You can just feel the frustration, that sense of violation. For the Burnes family, this was never about technicalities or HOA rules. It was about feeling safe and private in their own home. So when they felt like their emotional pleas just weren't being heard, the Burnes family decided they had to take the next step. They took their fight from complaint letters straight to the courtroom. They filed a formal petition that distilled all that frustration down into 4 very specific legal charges against their HOA. So, what was their actual case built on? Well, it was a mix of things. First, they claimed the HOA just wasn't doing its job, that they improperly approved the construction and then failed to collect a required $5,000 deposit. But it went deeper. They also alleged that the board held a secret meeting behind their backs, and then, to top it off, basically stonewalled them when they asked for the official records. Okay, so after all the hearings, all the legal back and forth, the judge finally delivered the verdict. And you know what? It wasn't the clean sweep that either side was hoping for. Not at all. It was a surprising split decision, which really only leaves you asking one thing: who actually won here and why? And here's the scoreboard. The judge sided with the HOA on the really big issues: the construction, the deposit, and that supposed secret meeting. The HOA took those 3. But the homeowners didn't walk away empty-handed. They managed to score a victory on that final charge, the failed records request. So a 3-1 split? Kind of weird, right? Let's dig into the judge's reasoning to see how we ended up here. So why did the homeowners lose on 3 out of their 4 claims? It really came down to a fundamental legal idea. You have to prove your case. It's not enough to just suspect something is wrong. And on these first 3 issues, the judge just wasn't convinced the homeowners had enough hard evidence to back up their claims. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, you've got to understand the role of the ARC, the Architectural Review Committee. Basically, think of them as the gatekeepers for the neighborhood's aesthetic. They're the group in charge of making sure any new construction or big changes follow the community's rules and maintain property values. They're a pretty big deal in these disputes. Okay, so the judge's logic on this first charge was actually pretty simple, but it's a huge point. The homeowners argued that the final house didn't match the approved plans. But here's the fatal flaw the court found. No new plans were ever actually submitted to the ARC. And that's the key. You can't blame a committee for failing to review something they were never even given in the first place. The other 2 losses for the homeowners were kind of similar. That missing deposit, the judge found evidence that a waiver had been granted, even if the HOA's paperwork on it was a total mess. And that secret meeting, well, it turns out it was a legally permitted emergency session, which is one of the rare exceptions to the open meeting laws. So close, but no cigar for the homeowners on these. So after losing on 3 major issues, how in the world did the homeowners pull out a win? Well, their victory came down to one crucial mistake by the HOA. And it wasn't a failure in judgment or a big conspiracy. It was just a simple failure to follow the administrative process. Paperwork. You can see exactly where the HOA dropped the ball when you look at the timeline. The family asks for the documents on June 4th. The law says the HOA has 10 business days to provide copies. Now, the HOA offered a review of the documents by the 16th, but that's not the same thing. The hard deadline for actual copies was June 18th. They missed it. They didn't get them the copies until the 24th, 6 days late, and even then, stuff was missing. And on this point, the judge's ruling was crystal clear. The HOA broke the law. Plain and simple. The HOA tried to argue that the request was too complicated, but the judge wasn't having it. A deadline is a deadline, and it was the HOA's job to meet it. They just didn't. So what can we all take away from this? I mean, beyond this one dispute in this one neighborhood, this whole case is a pretty powerful cautionary tale. There are some really clear lessons here for any homeowner living in an HOA or for anyone who's on an HOA board. Now, that win for the homeowners wasn't some giant payday. The tangible result was an order for the HOA to pay them back $500 for their court filing fee. It's not a lot of money, for sure, but it is a legal acknowledgement. It's the court saying, yep, the HOA was in the wrong here, and that's a victory in itself. So the key takeaways here are just crucial for everybody. For homeowners, it's a stark reminder. Evidence is everything.
Your feelings and suspicions, no matter how valid, won't win a court case without proof. For HOAs, the lesson is all about procedure. Be meticulous, because one simple administrative slip-up can cost you. And for both sides, document everything. Unrecorded conversations and handshake deals are just a recipe for conflict.
And that really leaves us with one final big question. This case perfectly sums up the central tension in any planned community, right? On one hand, you have a homeowner's very real feeling that their personal peace has been destroyed. On the other, you have an established process that, for the most part, was followed. It really makes you wonder, in a community governed by rules, where do we draw the line?